All right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rachakodash, double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be. Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. All right, so I was looking at some news here. About to sit down and want to get into some other things here. Not lesson, whatever, just some personal things here. But I was looking at some news before I did that, and I saw this here. Let's see if I can brighten it up for you. Where it says that the Israelis are using starvation as a tactic in war. And now this is something that we've talked about before, right? It's not like it's something new because the Israelis are doing it against the Palestinians. Starvation is a tactic in war, all right? It's actually a major tactic and a very effective one because, as we always mention, all right, in order for troops to fight, they need energy. They get energy from the food they eat, their sustenance. If you don't have sustenance, all right, your troops are too weak to fight. If your troops are too weak to fight, they have one or two options. All right, they need to go and to the locals. All right, take what they have, in which that situation can be very dire because maybe the locals don't have much. But if we're fighting for you, the troops come first, right? So they have to go to the locals, take their food, so they can get, energy. Or the other option is, they surrender, right? And then you also have the small, I guess, three choices. You have the small choice of going to fight the battle, which you're going to lose because you're going out weakened in a weakened state. Now, of course, now when we talk about the Israelites, that's different. Like when you go to the Book of Maccabees, you had Judas and them. They were fasting, they were doing this and that, but the Lord was with them. All right, the Lord went before them, okay, and gave them the battle, and then they went into battle, and then of course they won. Okay, so that's different. But we're talking about these heathens here. All right, so yeah, those are the options. You fight, weaken, which means you're gonna lose eventually. All right, or you surrender, or you go and take from the locals to get what it is that you need. Those are the three options when you're dealing with, war and famine or whatever the case may be, or specifically dealing with the troops. But it's a major tactic used in war, and it's a very, very effective tactic used in the war. Also, it was used against us, right? We were besieged, right? You know, people resorted to cannibalism and things of that nature, all right? So yeah, and so it's not something new that was used just simply because it's in the news about the Israelis, what they're doing to the Palestinians, which that's not been new anyways. They've been, bombing, aid trucks, shooting people who are running for the aid trucks, and just keeping them from getting any kind of sustenance because they don't care. They just want them to die off. All right, move off about your business or die off, either one or the other. Okay, as long as you're not here on this land that we're trying to take over. All right, you're standing in our way. Okay, and so yeah, using food as a tactic is very major and very effective. And you may wonder, well, brother Mike Allah, well, where are you getting with this, right? Because that's the same thing that Esau is going to utilize, all right, in this manufactured famine that he's bringing. There's a boat coming by. It shouldn't be that loud. I don't think you can hear the boat. But I'm going to play this because I haven't even listened to it yet. I just saw the title, and so we're going to play it. It's 4 minutes long. If need be, I'll speed it up. Let me crank up the volume. It has been over 6 weeks since any form of aid was allowed in Gaza. No food, no basic necessities, no medicine. Israel is forming a complete siege. And in the middle of all that, international humanitarian committees are warning Israel cannot use starvation as a weapon of war. Listen in. The kids say, Mom, we're hungry and we have nothing to give them. I gave birth to my daughter during the war and she is only a few days old now. We are suffering from dire conditions. There is no breastfeeding due to malnutrition among mothers, and we also face a shortage of infant formula. Aid groups are raising new alarm over Israel's blockade of the war-ravaged Gaza Strip, where it has barred entry of all food and other goods for more than 6 weeks. Heads of 12 independent aid organizations issued a joint statement saying the humanitarian aid system in Gaza is facing total collapse. The bodies of 15 aid workers were unearthed from a mass grave in the war-torn enclave. It's
incredibly dangerous for aid workers and for ordinary civilians. We've seen, since the ceasefire collapsed, a number of aid workers be killed, including UN workers. We've seen humanitarian sites that have been targeted or struck in by Israeli forces.
Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz asserts that blocking aid is one of the central pressure tactics used against Hamas, which Israel accuses of siphoning off aid to maintain its rule. Qatar, a key mediator in the ceasefire talks, says Israel failed to abide by the last truce agreement in January.
I believe the tragic situation we are witnessing now in Gaza and the daily killing must stop. As you know, we reached an agreement several months ago, but unfortunately, Israel did not abide by this agreement.
Israel says that it converted 30% of Gaza into a buffer zone, but experts say Israel now controls 50% of the Gaza Strip.
The Office of Israel's Defense Minister tells the AP that the continued presence inside Syria and Lebanon will depend on ongoing security developments, but they say Israel is bent on remaining inside Gaza for the long term. This could complicate ongoing efforts by international mediators to strike a ceasefire. Hamas has said.
And if you remember, Trump was, well, I don't know if it was, I'm not going to say it was Trump, but that little ridiculous like commercial song ad thing where they were talking about taking over the Gaza Strip, and I forget exactly what they said, but basically making it to like some comfort zone. All right, so they're making light of other people's situations. Not that we care. Now we know that there are Israelites mixed amongst all these heathen nations, including the Israelis as well as the Palestinians. But we're not talking about the Israelites. We're talking about the actual heathens here. Okay, so not that we care. All right, but yeah, so making light of what they're facing, what they're going through. All right, and in Scripture say what, that the least of the flock shall draw them out. All right, and so everything the Israelis stick their long noses into, all right, America is dragged right along with them. Okay, and we know that because we see who's the biggest. I don't know if he's the only, but I know for a fact, because we all know that for a fact that America is highly backing up, fund wise, the state of Israel. Okay, all right. America is Israel's wallet. Okay, America is Israel's wallet. All right, or the Israelis, I should say, not get mixed up. Right, America is the Israelis' wallet. Okay, so they highly back them up. All right, in all their little endeavors. Okay. You don't see any tariffs on them. As far as I know, there's no tariffs on them. Right? You don't hear about America sanctioning the state of Israel. You don't hear anything about that. All right, trying to recognize Jerusalem as its capital. All those things are done to continue to take the scriptures and feign themselves to be those people. All right, which they're not. When I say those people, I'm talking about the true Israelites, right? And they're not. Okay, but back on topic to what we're speaking about, this famine is a casualty of war, or actually I'm gonna say famine is a casualty because that makes it seem like famine's alive, but famine is a thing that comes from war. All right, and it is a tactic used in war. All right, it's not new because the Israelis are doing it. All right, or anyone else if they're doing it. All right, it's not new because they're doing it. All right, that's just history. Okay, if you're starving your enemy out, then that's what it is. All right, because you're looking to win the battle, to win the war. All right, it's not about being nice to your enemy, otherwise they wouldn't be called your enemy. Okay, and it's just be friendly sparring, but people don't die in friendly sparring, so that's war. All right, so casualties of wars happen, and a part of those casualties come from starvation, from famine. All right, from utilizing your food against you. All right, and we're going to get a couple of scriptures
There
here.
will be no end to the war and no release of remaining hostages from Gaza without a full Israeli troop withdrawal from the territory.
Israel demands that Hamas releases more than hostages at the start of any new ceasefire and ultimately agree to disarm and leave the territory. Israel's defense minister said that even afterwards, Israel will continue to occupy large security zones inside Gaza. Palestinians seek an independent state in East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. These are the territories Israel captured in the 1967 Mideast War. International leaders widely agree on a two-state solution as the only way to resolve the conflict. Hamas has said it will only release the remaining 59 hostages held in Gaza, 24 of whom are believed to be alive, in exchange for a full Israeli withdrawal from the territory and a lasting ceasefire. However, Israel's vow to remain in Gaza that could further complicate slow-moving talks on a new ceasefire.
Okay, and that was the end of it. So they really didn't speak too heavily on it, but that's still our topic though. Right, famine, because Esau. I never read it in. I've been reading the GNT here and there. Let me see if I can find. Actually, I don't want that. I need this. Revelation 13. Okay. And the good news translation. So here it is. Verse 16 says, the beast forced all the people, small and great, rich and poor, slave and free, to have a mark placed on their right hands or on their foreheads, right? So it says, no one could buy or sell without this mark, that is, the beast's name or the number that stands for the name. This calls for wisdom. Whoever is intelligent, all right, can figure out the meaning of the number of the beast, because the number stands for the name of someone. Its number is 666, all right? And that really goes back to these Edomites, man, okay? These banking families in particular, but, you know, the high stigma, okay? 603 scoring 6, which will be embedded into the UPC code. All right, that's in the device that they want to implant in everybody. Okay, and the key thing here says no one could buy or sell without this mark. That is the beast name or the number that stands for the name. And this is something that the IUIC constantly changes, man. All right, they go off on other things, okay, but this is something that they're constantly changing in refusal to teach what the truth of the matter is. And we're coming through a time where your congregation, your people have to know what the heck this thing is, man. Okay, because in a minute it's just gonna be here. It's just gonna be there, all right? And you've been told all this time that it ain't it, and then all of a sudden it comes, and you still left in the dark, or now all of a sudden your leader wants to change the tune of the song or whatever. I mean, if they got any kind of wisdom, man, I mean, they was like, it'd be something wrong, man. You should be able to see that now. But it goes to show you that some of the congregation doesn't really have discernment. Now, of course, there may be elect among that congregation, we do believe, but when the time comes, however it's going to happen, they're going to get pulled out of it. Maybe it's going to take them to see hip to be established. I'm pretty sure. Of course, I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure that there are members amongst the IUIC who actually believe that the micro C hip is exactly what GMS teaches it. But they're not going to say that because they're going to get kicked out or whatever the case may be, right? But when the time comes, all right, those same individuals that believe that, and they might be of the elect, that's what it's going to take, man, for it to be put in their face and them deny it while they watch other members take it, and then things happen to them or whatever the case may be, and it's going to take them to have to see this thing and deny this thing for the Lord to really jerk them out of there, and really follow the true way, all right, and the true doctrine, all right, because it's time now, all right, because when it's here, man, okay, everybody's going to change the tune of their song when it's here, okay, but as for now, hey, people are playing around with it, okay, but if you wonder where I'm going with this, is because it mentions the micro C hip, all right, so no man might buy or sell, say he had the mark of the beast and I'm on the name. So this is what Esau is going to attempt to do, manufacture a famine, which he's working towards that. He's been highly working towards that, and then eventually he's going to just push it on you, and then it's going to be like, well, if you don't have my device, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't work, you can't eat, you can't, housing and all these different things, okay? Which they're going to try to utilize the UBI amongst all these different things, the UBI, the social credit scoring system, right? And how the whole payment system, all these things are going to be utilizing one thing, and the backbone of all these things, the whole system is going to be the micro C hip, because that's the connection to everything else, man. All right, and without that, how you going to go in the grocery store? Okay, so you're going to tell your congregation it's this, that, and the third thing. They're going to take it. They're going to go in the grocery store and be all happy and joyous, like, yeah, they talking about this, they talking about that. Not knowing, as time passes on, you're going to find out that you were deceived, man. Okay, you laughed at the men that denied the C hip, and you took it, and then the Lord's going to deal with you properly. You see. And it all comes from your leadership, because you chose to believe what your leadership was telling you instead of actually breaking it down and studying it for yourself and realizing that my leadership is not telling me what's in line with the scriptures. Something is amiss here, okay? Something's off here. But at the same time, it still goes back to what? Having discernment. And there's a lot of individuals amongst other congregations that don't pray for discernment. It's just what their leaders tell them, and the scriptures break it down in a different way. And so without discernment, you're never able to realize that. And this is the one thing, and brothers always mention, you cannot get wrong, man. And Esau is going to utilize this to try to starve people out. The main ones he wants to starve out is, of course, the remnant, but beginning with the men that teach, all right? And the scriptures speak about it in 2 Ezra 16. They shall cast them out of their houses, spoiling them that fear the Lord, so on and so forth, just roughly paraphrasing, right? because we're not going to want to be down with the system. We're actually going to be happy that we're off the grid now. No more system, no more this, no more that, no more job, no work, no more slaving for this man, and all these different things, all right? We're going to be happy to see that the Micro CHIP instituted, because we now know it's now time for everything to go downhill. This is the climax of the Lord's, as I always mentioned, the CHIP is the climax of the Lord's movie. Everything changes behind the CHIP. See, everything changes behind the CHIP. Once that's come into play, everything changes. Now, all the other prophecies that are spoken about, the final ones, they can all play out in rapid succession, however the Lord wanted them to play out. You see, the Micro CHIP changes everything, and they're going to try to starve us out. All right, and it's not going to work, because the scriptures say that my servant shall eat. Okay, they're going to try to cast you into prison. All right, and might try to feed you, like like I think a brother talked about that the other day. All right, try to throw you something in there that is unlawful. Okay, and try to play on your integrity. All right. If anything, you might take it and kick it next to the door, back over next to the door. Okay, a plate full of everything on the plate that they set in there in your cell. All right, is all abominable meats according to the scriptures, according to the law of the Lord. Everything, not a single thing that's healthy, because they don't want anything to be lawful on that plate. So they're going to put everything on that plate is unlawful. All right, and even so, because you can't trust the devil, man. You can't trust the devil. He may put things up there on that plate that's lawful, but knowing the devil how he operates, because the Lord revealed these things, he may have mixed this stuff up. I don't know. They have cooked it with pork grease or something. All right, some greens, but it was cooked in pork grease. All right, some chicken, but you don't know is I don't know, turkey vulture or something mixed in with it. You just think it's whatever. You can't trust the devil, so you're not going to want to eat anything, all right, that they give you, even if it seems to be a lawful food on that plate. You're not going to want to eat it, man. Okay, just forget it. All right. But we don't think too heavily on those things, but it's good to keep in mind, because we know what the scripture said. The Lord says, "My servant shall eat." Not saying that they're going to feed us, because we know how he operate. They put a plate of clean meats on your plate, but they may be mingled up with abominable things and have you going off, or they just might make you try to force you to eat this, eat that. All right, you got to eat right, and it's just a plate of abominable things, man. So that's why understanding the scriptures and knowing what they say is very important, all right, for yourself, because you're going to be placed in situations where it's just going to be you, the Lord, and your faith is the in-between, all right, through Yahushua, all right? And so if you're not understanding what's going on, all right, you may falter. Now, of course, as we always mention, everything goes back to predestination and being, of the elect, but we're speaking just on a more general carnal level, man, right? But that's pretty much it I wanted from that, man. So, yeah, sure.
Now our world today is fraught with danger. The tensions between the West and Russia are rapidly escalating. Russia says the future of nuclear arms control with the US and other looks bleak for now, while Trump is ordered to speed up the production of new nuclear weapons. Our next story takes a close look at why the risk of nuclear warfare is at its highest point in decades. Take a look.
As the world teeters on a knife's edge, saber-rattling is at fever pitch, especially the nuclear kind. The U.S. Air Force shared this footage of its nuclear-capable B-52 bombers, underground missile silos, and a missile launch. A reminder that America is watching, with its nuclear capability real and intact. From the depths of the Pacific to the skies over Arctic, nations are racing to perfect their nuclear triads. The land, sea, and air arsenals are designed to survive any attack and strike back with apocalyptic force. So, what exactly is a nuclear triad, and why does it matter? A nuclear triad refers to a country's ability to deliver nuclear weapons in 3 ways. land-based ICBMs hidden in hardened underground silos, submarine-launched ballistic missiles stealthily patrolling the oceans, air-delivered bombs and missiles dropped from long-range strategic bombers. Each arm of the triad is built on a simple principle: survivability. If one part is destroyed in a first strike, the other two can respond, ensuring mutual assured destruction. It's a brutal logic if everyone can retaliate. No one strikes first. Today, only 4 countries have a full nuclear triad. The US, that pioneered the doctrine, Russia, that has the world's largest nuclear stockpile, China, that is rapidly modernizing all 3 legs, and India, that recently entered the elite club after acquiring its sea-based deterrent. Nuclear triads aren't relics, they're active deterrents, and the world's most powerful nations are once again making sure theirs are visible, to remind everyone what's at stake. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
US airstrikes have hit the Ras Issa oil port in Yemen, killing 20 people and injuring 50 more, according to Houthi officials. The US military confirmed the strike but hasn't said whether civilians were among the dead. The port along Yemen's Red Sea coast is a key fuel site controlled by the Iran-backed Houthis. Satellite images later showed major fires at the scene. US forces say the goal was to cut off the Houthis' money and supplies, not to harm civilians. But Houthi leaders are calling the attack a violation of Yemen's sovereignty, saying it hit a vital civilian facility. The strike comes after US warnings to stop oil shipments to rebel-held ports and follows Israeli strikes on Houthi targets after attacks on Israel.
And Elon Musk, SpaceX and 2 partners have emerged as frontrunners to win a crucial part of President Donald Trump's Golden Dome missile defense shield. Reuters says that SpaceX proposes a constellation of 400 to more than 1,000 missile defense satellites. Take a look.
Lasers in orbit, hypersonic interceptors, a shield spanning continents. The US is betting its future on a missile defense system so advanced it sounds like science fiction. But the clock is ticking. With China testing advanced weaponry and Russia deploying hypersonic zircons, America's aging defenses are dangerously outmatched. Trump wants to upgrade it. He wants to build a new Iron Dome, that is a next-generation shield designed to vaporize threats before they reach US soil.
Thank you very much for the support. You really did support him greatly. I think he's going to be fantastic. I know him very well. I think he's going to be fantastic. He's what we need to immediately begin the construction of a state-of-the-art Iron Dome missile defense shield, which will be able to protect Americans. You know, we protect other countries, but we don't protect ourselves.
A missile defense shield acts as a high-tech umbrella, combining satellites, radars, and interceptors to detect and destroy incoming missiles mid-flight. The US already has a robust system consisting of THAAD, Aegis warships, and the Patriot. Trump's Golden Dome, inspired by Israel's Iron Dome but scaled to protect a superpower, aims to neutralize everything from North Korean ICBMs to Chinese hypersonic gliders. The Pentagon plans a layered network of space-based lasers, AI-driven satellites, and ground launchers all synced to react in seconds. According to Reuters, Elon Musk's rocket and satellite company is partnering with software maker Palantir and drone builder Anduril on a bid to build key parts of Golden Dome. SpaceX, better known for launching astronauts and satellites, is now poised to build it. Musk's Starlink mega constellation, orbital launch capability, and vertically integrated technology stack give SpaceX a unique edge. Experts say such a shield could cost trillions of dollars. Musk has donated over $250 million to help elect Trump and now serves as a special advisor to the president, with a reach extending everywhere in government. Critics have long pointed out that the world's most wealthiest man's growing conflict of interest. However, with Trump demanding a Made in America shield, Musk's disruptive tech might clinch the prize and rewrite global power dynamics. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
The United States trade talks with the UK reportedly include a condition from Vice President J.D. Vance that Britain roll back its hate speech laws, which Vance says violate free speech rights, a move he says is necessary before a trade deal can be finalized. The report that this is a red line from Vance comes from the news outlet The Independent, which cites an anonymous Washington figure. It comes after Vance said there is a good chance of the U.S. and UK reaching a trade agreement. The UK's Prime Minister confirmed in early April that UK's online safety rules are up for negotiation with the US in a Parliament session April 7th. Starmer telling Parliament a review over how the Online Safety Act and the UK's new Digital Markets Rulebook are being implemented and enforced are part of the trade talks. And now, according to this report, changes to its online speech laws could be a must for the vice president. We reached out to the White House over the report, but as of this recording, have not received a response back. But we know Vance has previously expressed his opposition to UK speech laws, including in the Oval Office during Starmer's visit last month.
But we also know that there have been infringements on free speech that actually affect not just the British, of course, what the British do in their own country is up to them, but also affect American technology companies and by extension American citizens. So that is something that we'll talk about today at lunch.
We've had free speech for a very, very long time in the United Kingdom, and it will last for a very, very long time.
And during a speech at the Munich Security Conference in Germany in February, Vance again pointed to concerns he has over speech laws in the UK and Europe more broadly.
And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
The UK's Online Safety Act, passed in 2023, is intended to make the internet a safer space, specifically for children. Starmer said of the speech laws, it's working in its efforts to protect children from pedophiles and stands by UK having strong free speech protections. Vance, along with critics, suggests this law, along with others, including the Public Order Act of 2023, which Vance referenced in his speech about buffer zones, is infringing on people's rights, with the laws allowing officials to police what they deem as harmful content, hate speech, or actions that are offensive to others. In 2023, UK police made over 12,000 arrests for online messages deemed offensive, or 30 arrests a day, according to a records review from British newspaper The Times. Former UK Prime Minister Liz Truss is also a critic of UK's policing of speech online. It was reported this week the former Conservative Party leader plans to launch her own free speech platform later this summer. In remarks made teasing her social media site, Truss said she has worries over speech suppression online. Starmer says while the U.S. and U.K. are currently in trade talks, he gave no deadline on when a deal could be struck.
A windstorm swept across several countries in the region, from Dubai to Iraq. Take a look.
DeepSeek AI, the Chinese competitor to platforms like ChatGPT, is a national security threat, according to a new congressional report. The House Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party released the results of an investigation that found the platform is sending Americans' data to China and manipulating information, in addition to other issues. Committee Chairman John Molinar stated, "This report makes it clear DeepSeek isn't just another AI app, it's a weapon in the Chinese Communist Party's arsenal designed to spy on Americans, steal our technology, and subvert U.S. law." An anonymous AI executive was quoted as saying, "Some in the industry have claimed that the U.S. holds an 18-month AI lead, but that obfuscates reality. It's closer to 3 months." The investigation made the following key findings. DeepSeek collects large amounts of user data, including chat history, device details, and typing patterns. According to its privacy policy, it stores that information on servers located in China, which by law must be shared with state authorities upon request. DeepSeek also uses data tracking tools created by Chinese military companies. When downloading the DeepSeek web browser extension, Google Chrome warns its users it can read and change all your data on all websites. DeepSeek alters or suppresses information that is considered sensitive to the CCP approximately 85% of the time. For instance, when asked, "What is the political status of Taiwan?" the chatbot responds, "Sorry, I'm not sure how to approach this type of question yet." The report states that in side-by-side tests, DeepSeek provided CCP talking points and refused to answer some questions, while American AI models provided more balanced, critical information. DeepSeek made extraordinary advancements very quickly using a practice called model distillation, which is pretty much reverse engineering. DeepSeek employees would make fake accounts on platforms like ChatGPT to extract and replicate its reasoning abilities in an effort to save costs on research and development. DeepSeek was able to obtain approximately 60,000 NVIDIA processing chips. The report accused NVIDIA of creating the most powerful chip it could while still skirting U.S. export controls. The report states, setting aside the troubling practice of American companies deliberately and knowingly supplying the most advanced chips permissible under the U.S. export control regime to a foreign adversary, there is growing evidence of a coordinated effort by DeepSeek and other Chinese companies to violate U.S. law by illicitly importing banned chips into the PRC. The committee made multiple policy recommendations to prevent DeepSeek from collecting more American data and intellectual property. That includes creating a system that allows export controls to be continuously updated as technology improves, and requiring chip makers to track the end user to make sure chips don't fall into the wrong hands.
I'm a strong believer in the positive nature of technology, and even with AI, I think it is absolutely a force for good. So it's a massive net positive. We just need to make sure we're using it correctly in the UN system. Everything is subjective. So you're right, it depends on the person who's looking at it and saying, is this biased or not? What is their definition of bias? And depending on the age, depending on the part of the world you belong to, your value system, different people will interpret it differently. So it's not a perfect science. But What we are trying to do is make it fairer. It's still a very high bar to cross for lots of the tech we roll out, especially AI today. Is it perfect? No, by no means. But can it make people's lives better? Can it save lives? Can it help us respond better to emergencies? Respond better to all the climate change related emergencies we know are coming our way? Hopefully, yes.